Hey guys, today we're going to be going over my PowerPoint, the process of criminal justice. Sorry if this doesn't link up very well, this is the first time I'm trying to use this. Alright, the first PowerPoint slide, law enforcement. Law enforcement is the first initial interaction with the process of criminal justice system. Law enforcement makes the arrest and citations for the person in custody. Law enforcement has the different steps. It goes from the arrest, the booking, / the jail, where I'm at right now, and then the release. And then from the release further on. So the first thing we're going to go over is the arrest. The arrest is the first entry into the criminal justice system. The arrest is made when there is a law broken that requires an individual to be brought to jail due to the fact that they may be a danger to society or have broken some minor infraction laws. Next is the booking. The booking is the next step in the process of the criminal justice system. Booking is where all the fun happens, pretty much. That's what I do. I'm a booking officer most of the time. The booking process consists of getting all the information, taking the booking photographs, and getting fingerprints of the inmate, if they're needed. Some minor laws broken, you don't have to fingerprint people, but for the majority, you do. At this time, an inmate or person in custody has a couple of options if they're eligible. They may be allowed to bond out through cash bonds, property bonds, or through a bondsman, and sometimes an OR bond, which is basically released on yourself, saying that you're going to show back up for court. And all of these, if you don't show back up to court, obviously you get a bench warrant, and then you'll come back to jail. So people don't like to show back up to court, but you know. Alright, next is your release. Inmates are often released on bonds to await their court date, sometimes. But for some who are denied bond, they remain in the detention center. Or also when they don't qualify for bonds. Some higher charges, you don't get a bond. After the court paperwork is given to the jail confirming the sentencing of the inmate, then the inmate is released from the jail. The inmate could be released as time served, released to a rehab, or transported to prison to serve longer sentences. So at a jail, we're basically the holding until you get sentenced, is basically what we do. Next comes in with your public defender. As stated in your Miranda rights, you have the right to an attorney if you cannot afford one. One will be appointed to you. This is where the public defender comes in. Once an inmate is arrested, someone from the judicial circuit's public defender will come to do an intake. I think at our jail we have an intake twice a week. So basically what they do is come to see if the defender wants to use the public defender's office instead of paying for an attorney. Maybe they can't afford one, maybe they just sometimes don't really care, and they don't not qualify for a public defender. So one way that you won't qualify is if you make too much money, you're responsible for your own attorney. If there's more than one person in custody for the same case, there will be a conflict attorney out of the office for the co-defendant. So the intake also gets an application to fill out, which is taken back to the office for review. This is how the actual public defender, the head guy over the public defender's office, goes over and verifies if they're eligible, and then after that they issue them to different attorneys. If they have to conflict them out, they'll normally send them to Atlanta, in our case, and get someone of a conflict attorney. Sometimes it's a private attorney, or sometimes it's just another public defender out of another office. Okay. The court process. Once the inmate or an arrestee is put into the system, they are put on a calendar to appear for court. There are 4 different court dates. The arraignment, the individual pleads guilty or not guilty. Motions, if there are more evidence that needs to be retrieved or gathered, this is the time to do so, such as subpoenas and bringing people in and questioning them and stuff like that. Your calendar call is the final time to accept a plea before you go to trial. So if you know you're guilty and you and your attorney and the district attorney come up with a good plea agreement, this is the time where you would take that instead of going to trial. The trial goes in front of the jury to decide if the subject is guilty or not guilty, based off all the gathered evidence. Normally, the longest court dates that can last for weeks. These are normally the longest court days that can last for days or weeks, depending on the severity or the evidence